Hi,
Hello.
greetings from Germany. Um,
Greetings from Stockholm. Yeah.
oh really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
How is the pandemic over there?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah,
It's
same.
it's not good, but at least people are not dying like they did before. So it's but like this, it feels like this time everyone I know is sick. Like not like it's nothing compared to before. Like everyone is sick around me, but like not in a deadly way. Just this
Yeah,
sort of milder version. But yeah, it's
I got
what
mine.
it is. Oh yeah, I got it too. I got it too. Yeah.
Um, Love the film, love the production.
Thank you.
Didn't expect less. Uh, um, so why animation? Why not live action?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I'm very inspired by live action. I think I'm maybe a bit more. I mean, I do watch a lot more live action than I watch animation. Like I just love the film media in that way. But I actually started. I started working as a prop maker years and years ago because I wanted to build stuff myself. I build things for film and theater, and I'm very sort of tactile. I love working with my hands, and I love materials. And then I just kind of found out that I could, build these puppets and these sets and make this sort of worlds. And combining that love I had for that part, and combining it with my love for film and my love for storytelling, that was stop motion, for better or worse. It is a quite exhausting and complicated way of working. Yeah. I know, but I just think that the outcome is so like you it's just something really nice about being able to put so much time and effort to each frame in a film. And like you need to sort of, you don't get anything for free. You need to build everything, you need to animate everything, you don't get anything for free. And to give that to an audience, I think that's a sort of nice thing to do as well. I think it's like quite nice sort of give that much of your time and energy. And obviously it's a bit, it's fun as well, but it's also, but it's hard. It is.
You have to come up with everything.
Mm,
Doing
yeah.
You start with a blank page, you end up hopefully with something like your chapter in the
Mm,
house.
yeah.
Um, but I would have too many doubts, and I wouldn't hesitate to do some decisions, and I would come. I wouldn't have. I think I do not have the patience to do what you do. Um,
But it's quite interesting because I think many people do talk about the patience and that everything is so slow. And but to me, it's, and to us working within this genre, I think it's quite a lot about, you're facing different challenges every day, and it feels quite stressful, and it's like a lot of work. And it's to me, it doesn't feel like a sort of slow paced kind of work. It's just like another way of making images. But it's, yeah, it's just interesting because I'm not, I'm a quite sort of um, you know stressed person as well. I hate doing things in a slow way, but this still feels fast even though it's slow. you know
yeah, but like Fyodor Kitruk, a Russian animator, once said, an animator is some kind of lesser god.
mm,
You are in control of everything. You
yeah.
create your own thing. This is
Mm.
something that appeals to you.
Yeah, it's definitely a simpler way of getting to where you want, going where you want to go, because you don't need necessarily to rely on a huge bunch of people also feeling the same way. I mean, like you could just, like I did in my first films, you could just sort of lock yourself into a basement for 3 years, and you could actually make the worlds you want to make, even because it's a miniature. You don't even need to be like strong or doing things in but I do think it's quite good in animation that when you collaborate with people, because sometimes animation could be a little bit too much out of just one person's brain, which could be a bit sort of disturbing sometimes. I think animation can be like a genius, but also very strange, like it's because you don't need to ask. I mean, obviously in this kind of much more upscale production, but like in this very small productions, you don't need for anyone's sort of permission to do anything, or anyone's input or anything, and that's I think that could be good sometimes, to to open up a bit.
How do you communicate your personal vision, your unique point of view, to your team?
Oh, good question. I mean, I try to just be. I just try to be very clear. I mean, like I try to communicate with references from other films, with like pictures, with I think I rarely just write something and ask people to understand from just words. I think it's very important to, because I work quite a lot with certain like atmospheres and that like much more than just like you could just like retell a story, but to me, like the story and the atmosphere are sort of equally important. So to me, it's quite a lot about using references for the atmosphere. For example, I've been using quite many sort of David Lynch references, for example, and like just to get the style, like maybe more getting just to communicate in like a style and a certain scene, rather than just like retelling the entire story, because that could be made in so many ways.
Are you aware of what makes your style of animation?
What makes my style?
Yeah, what would you if you would you recognize your style somewhere else?
I'm not sure if that's sort of it's quite hard for me to maybe it's hard for me to recognize this in other work. I mean, like I do think that my style is quite realistic. It's quite dark, but also a bit silly. That sort of like unsettled feeling in between something that's a bit sort of, you don't really know if you're supposed to laugh or be horrified by something. I think, or at least that's what I'm trying to do, but also obviously I work with animal characters within very sort of realistic settings, which sort of adds a bit silliness to it, but also maybe it's a way for me to invite the audience into like it's a sort of silly way of inviting the audience into something that's much darker than it might look on the surface, like yeah.
How do you make me think your characters are thinking?
That my characters are thinking?
Yeah, because there's not much facial movement in the puppets, but I'm always thinking, my goodness, there's so much going on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do my best with that, because I do work quite a lot with silences and maybe uncomfortable silences, and I try to cut out quite a lot of language and words, because I feel that, but I think it's also like an idea that I have, that that if things are not constantly like spoken out, you also have like some space to do your own interpretation of what they're actually thinking. And so I think, I mean, I don't think you should like underestimate your own sort of brains, that you might just want to read things into a character, basically, even because like even though my characters are not sort of moving, they don't have the facial expressions as we do, obviously. I think your own brain is kind of interpreting a lot into them for free somehow. So I think for some reason it works. I mean, I always feel a little bit nervous prior to making something, that if, you know, the feelings might not be communicated in the right way, or that they're just, it's just a look, or it's just a sort of subtle movement that's supposed to communicate something. But I think it works a lot better than you think. I mean, it's even though it's just like, you know, these puppets are not that simple, but they're still puppets, obviously. So you don't need to be, I don't think you need to communicate as much as you think, you know. Yeah.
How did you get involved with the house?
Sorry, how did I get?
How did you get involved with the production of the
involved?
house?
Yes. Yeah, as the directors were contacted by Nexus, the production company. I've been working with them for many years, but this was like our first, you know, real assignment together. And so Nexus contacted us because they felt that we shared, like, we're all sort of kind of profiled stop motion animation directors, and we also like share a style somehow, even though our styles are different. I mean, they also kind of connect to each other. So they invited us to develop something together that could be like an interesting collaboration, but also to kind of keep our own separate styles. So we met up at our producer's house in London, and you know, just had quite wide discussions to begin with on like what could be done, and what could like what themes that could be like shared. And when we came up with this idea of a house that could be like the mutual theme, and that would both be like very separate stories, but also connected in different ways. So that's
present, future.
Yeah. And we also like, we developed our own ideas for each story. So like these 3 chapters are very much sort of our own chapters, but we still found ways of connecting them. And it was really like a lovely experience. I mean, I've been a huge fan of both Mark and Emma's and Paloma's work from before, so it was a bit nervous to just like, how will I even stand out in this like super talented bunch, you know? But it was just so, I mean, they're so talented, but they're also so lovely people, and it's just been nice to like really make. I really feel that I made new friends, and that we could give each other feedback and help out in different situations, because we really shared this experience. Even though we had our separate shootings and productions, we could still share a lot of experiences along the way, and we had like a lot of chats on Zoom, and it was just such a, even though you were kind of on your own, you still was in this lovely team. So yeah, it was a really nice.
Spoke the same language in terms of stop motion.
Yeah, for sure. But also just with like just discussing the script and discussing the characters. I mean, like in all ways, we could definitely just like help each other in a great way. It was really sort of comforting, especially since like none of us had sort of worked with this size of a production before. Like it was quite new to all of us. So it was great to be able to support each other, and especially during COVID and everything. It's been, you know, it was a huge challenge in so many ways, you know. So yeah, it was great to be on Friends.
Was there some pressure in
Of
terms of
course.
the scale of the production?
Yeah, of course, a huge pressure. But I feel like I felt quite a lot like that before starting to work, but maybe it's just like the way your brain works, that you, once you actually start working on something and you dive into that project, you can't, have that on your mind constantly, that sort of, that sort of pressure. You just dive into it, and you have, I had a lot of fun on the way. I think it was quite, I felt, but that was also because of the great team that I had around me, but I felt really sort of relaxed and being able to do what I wanted. And I think the pressure is, or I think it's been very sort of absent, but it's kind of coming back now, like prior to the premiere, because then it's like, okay, so this will actually be, screened all over the world. People will actually see this. And then you sort of give something away for other viewers that you can't, it's not yours anymore. It's a very
Yeah, I
specific
understand
feeling.
completely.
Yeah.
Who do you think is your audience?
I mean, I hope that my audience would be quite, that it would be a quite broad range of people, or how you say it. I mean, like, it's, to me, it's always been like that with my previous films as well, that I tend to think that the audience is quite narrow, and it's about, people being very sort of interested in certain kind of films. And exactly but then it's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, my daughter, she's singing along to the fish in the burden all the time, and like it's kids enjoy it, and like old people, or like really old people and really young people. I think it's and people from different cultures. Just like, just seeing my previous films and how they have sort of reached out. It's always been like, it's been quite a surprise for me, to be honest, and I'm really happy that I'm able to reach out like that. It's amazing. But I guess it's something universal about existential anxiety and these kind of things, these kind of themes that I'm working on.
Are you, is there, how free do you have to be to come up with a story like that? Or do you need someone who says that's not possible, that's not possible? How was this experience?
For this certain project, you mean?
Yes, for the
Yeah.
house.
Well, I mean, I was, to be honest, I was very happy. Well, I was surprised that I had so much artistic freedom, because like, just on the paper, like, to start working with something that's obviously like a much bigger project that's supposed to reach out to so many more people, and everything that it's, yeah, just so upscaled in so many ways. I was surprised how supported I felt along the way from Netflix and from the team, that I felt that I had like total artistic freedom, like, all through the film. And I'm really, really thankful for that, actually, like, really, because it's to be able to do something that's, it's a quite strange story. It's quite dark, and it's quite sort of disturbing, and I'm just so happy that I could do this. It's and with the help of this entire brilliant team and everything. So it's yeah, I had a lot of artistic freedom, and I think we all feel the same way about that. It's just it's been amazing in that sense. I really hope that I'll be able to do it again somehow. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Please.
Is it hard for you to let go of a project?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think it's I think that could be like a problem with animation in general, because you have so much control. I mean, you could literally like direct every frame in a film, you know, and I think many people that works with animation get stuck on it, and you know, it's you know, people that's been working on the same project since the 70s, you know, and they could never stop, because they would never be, you know, you could allow yourself to get stuck on details forever and ever and ever. They would never be like happy about it. But I feel like you just need to stop at some point and just be happy about it. And I think it's a part of the process that you have like certain like last parts of a production that's just that you kind of like decouple yourself with the project, uncouple, or how is it? And then it's just not yours anymore. And I think that's a quite nice feeling. I think it's a bit scary, but it's also quite nice, because then you need to be able to move on, like with anything else. And I mean, if it's successful or not, or if you're happy with it or not, you still need to be able to distance yourself to it. And I think that's it's just an important thing to be able to do. Yeah.
What do you think will change animation more, the pandemic or the rise of the streaming services?
So sorry, what the
animation will change definitely
animation?
because of COVID, and also because streaming now allows more and more
Which is to be
different
heard.
content.
Yeah, well, I think that's completely up to the streaming services in one way, because it's up to the streaming services to allow, you know, new talents and animators to be able to do their work, or I mean, let them in and believe in them, which I already think it's happening, definitely. And yeah, I mean, about the pandemic, that it might be easier to make animation during pandemic than live action, you mean? Or
working remote now, and
yeah.
there will be some kind of new normal after this will be over, and
Yeah.
it would be nice to know how you would think about this new future.
To be honest, I don't think there will be too much difference. I think like it just feels like you tend to think that this pandemic is like it is obviously like a sort of historical event, and people needed to change their lives in so drastic ways in such short time. But I tend to think that like once this is over, you know, for real, people will just sort of go like forget about it super quickly. Like for good or bad. I think like it's definitely like a nice thing to not, you know, travel by airplane constantly, that we could actually meet each other like this, you know, like it's there has been a lot of good things coming out of it as well. But then, you know, I don't know, I think that people like, oh, people will change them so much. I don't think we will, to be honest. But I hope it will be good for the animation industry, but it's hard for me to say, really.
What are your future plans? We have to come to an end. What will you do next? What is your next project?
Well, right now, well, I have a few projects, you know, like under development. So we'll see what happens with them, like a short film and a series, and we'll see what happens with them. And I'm having a baby in like 2 months, so it's that will obviously be a big difference. Yeah, thank you. So that's a bit of a new thing. And I also have like I have an exhibition coming up in Paris this fall, in the Swedish Institute in Paris and in Normandy. And I do quite a lot of like exhibition stuff as well. You know, like I make sculpture, and like usually I do a little bit of these things in between the sort of big and heavy animation productions. So it's kind of nice to do things that takes a little less time.
More big and heavy animation production, please, please. I'm a fan. I would like to see
Thank you.
more
Well,
immediately.
me too.
Okay.
I would love to do more. I can say definitely. So let's fingers crossed for this upcoming ideas.
Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Good luck for the baby.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.